Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. If you're new to the Scholars Table, I'm your host, Dr. Banda Khalifa. On today's episode, it's different, right? Occasionally, you hear of other people's journey, and you feel that this journey is very inspiring, and the whole world must hear it. It serves as a motivating spirit for a lot of people. So, welcome to the Scholars Table. Today, we are bringing you an inspiring story of a young, remarkable immigrant from Ghana, hello, Nigeria, who epitomizes the outcome of opportunity with dedication. He started his journey in the US as a janitor cleaning hospital rooms. Since then, he has co founded two nonprofit organizations and received invitations to even the White House. But that's not all. He went on to chase his dream of becoming a medical doctor, and he's currently undergoing his residency in one of the prestigious specialties in the world to become a neurosurgeon at Vanderbilt Medical Center. His story, it's a combination of resilience, hard work, and the power of perseverance. Let's welcome our special guest, Dr. Kwadwo Sarpong. All right. Dr. Kwadwo Sarpong, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to finally get to speak with you. I read your article on Medscape and other, news outlets, and it was really inspiring. Thank you so much for joining us on the Scholars Table today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I know like everybody here, still you're from Ghana, but I want you to really take us through your journey. Um, First of all, could you tell us about yourself, how your upbringing is, which part of Ghana you grew up, and how your story like before you moved to the US?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I again, thank you, Dr. Banda Khalifa, for actually hosting me on this podcast and to share my story. I think not a lot of people know that part of my journey. I think everyone starts my journey from when I immigrated to the United States. So I mean, again, I was born, grew up in Ghana, in Kumasi specifically, went to schooling and everything in Ghana. So I come from a family of four boys, and I'm actually the last born. And the third born, Kwame, he was born with some form of paralytic polio, which led him basically made him paralyzed from his waist down. So I grew up with him and my older brother Felix, who is an inspiration to me because he went to prepper college and he studied business and everything that he did is exactly what I also wanted to do. So I grew up very first we lived in Abuabo, then we moved to Dechemso Yenyauso area, and then finally we moved to Brooklyn Estate. And growing up, I had to just always push with his friends, push my brother to school in his wheelchair, and that journey was like that was the moment. Those were the moments where it made me start to reflect on my journey thus far in terms of just witnessing my brother go through what he had to go through, especially when I go out with my friends to play soccer and he cannot do the same, or I have to constantly be able to push him back and forth to school, like to and fro. So, those experiences actually has now, I would say, paid me well in terms of my current journey and what I'm going through now. So yeah, we grew up. Majority of our times was spent in Dichamso Yenyauso area and then to Brooklyn Estate. So we grew up as a family. My parents were not with us. My parents were immigrants in the UK. So I grew up in a, I would say, middle income home. They provided. I mean, we didn't have everything, but they tried to make sure that we were provided with everything that we needed when growing up. Went to Blessing International School from what kindergarten all the way to JSS3, took the BECE, and at the time, I did very well in middle school and very early on in grade school. I was always either first or second. And there was always a student, Kwame Asante, who always challenged me to first or second position, and we always kind of like went back and forth on that. So I did very well. And in BEC, I took the BEC, and my goal was to go to prepper college because I just wanted to follow in my brother's footsteps. And I wanted to do business. Unfortunately, I was offered a different course, so but I was very stuck on doing business. So I ended up going to Kumasi High School for business. At Kumasi High School was where a new journey also started. Again, going to Kumasi High School, a whole bunch of people wrote me off. Like they're like, man, this guy is not going to amount to anything. Going to like a very, at the time, Kumasi High School had a very bad reputation for being very, very violent. For like guys who go there, smoke weed, all this kind of stuff. But when I went, I mean, I think that was the phase that basically changed my life. I went there with a couple of my best friends who were also in the same middle school as I am at Blessing. So we grew up together. We bonded well together, and I think two of us did business, and then one did science. At the time, I honestly was not thinking about science or anything related to that. I just chose business because all my siblings did business, and I felt doing business would make things much more easier, especially if I did not understand anything. So it wasn't even about my own personal career path. It was more about what my siblings did. So I went to Kumasi High School, did very well there. And I graduated Kumasi High School in 2007. And I got into the University of Ghana. So once I was at the University of Ghana, I started University of Ghana in 2008 because, during our time, you have to stay home for 1 year before you could start college. So went to the University of Ghana in 2008. And then at the time, I did not know anything about the United States. My goal was to finish Legon and then maybe go to the UK to do a master's in some sort of like business or some sort of law or whatever, and just come back to Ghana. And that has always been my dream. Again, my parents were immigrants in the UK, so the only thing I thought about was Ghana, UK, and like I had no dream of or imagination of transitioning into the United States. But my brother's friend, my older brother's friend, called Willie, he had an internet cafe, and one time I was home, and he calls me and he's like, "Hey, Kojo, why is it that like all your siblings have been applying for this visa lottery, but you've never tried it?" And I was like, "What is that?" And again, that time I was a first year student at the University of Ghana. So I went down, and this all happened in Kumasi, right in Brooklyn Estate. So I went down to his internet cafe. He was like, "Yeah, let me just do this for you." He literally made me start. At the time, he had won it, but he was still in Ghana. So he took a picture of me, submitted my application, and he submitted it, I think, around 5:59 p.m. When the deadline was at 6. It was the same day when the deadline was due, and it did not really give him any confirmation. So I literally took my mind off it, and I was like, you know what, I don't really care. I'm just gonna go through my schooling and just focus on my education. And around April of the next year, which was in 2009, my older brother, he has been applying every year, so he is thinking that he probably won it. And he was like, "Hey, Kojo, we closed from church." He was like, "Can you go check the mailbox and see if I won the visa lottery?" And at the time, I did not think I would win it because I did not get any confirmation of me even applying. So I went into our mailbox in Swami because we went to church at CAC, which is Christ Apostolic Church International, back in
Mm-hmm.
Swami. So right after church, I went to go check the mailbox, and I saw an envelope in there, and I took a look at it, and my name was on top of it. So I opened it, and it was like, "Congratulations, the US Diversity Lottery, whatever." So I called my brother, and he was super pumped and so super excited. And that basically started my whole American journey, honestly.
Okay, okay. I mean, yeah, that you made mention of quite a few things that I can relate quite well with. I also like grew up in Kumasi. I was also the last born. I mean, in Ashanti region, everybody knew that. I mean, Kumasi High for they are rowdy, right? Interco, they are all over the place,
Yeah.
causing confusion and all that. So that's quite intriguing. So when you are at the University of Ghana, What program did you settle on at the University of Ghana?
So at the University of Ghana, I ended up doing both psychology and political science, and that is what my goal was. And mostly, I was just more leaning towards the psychology part, and that is what I was leaning towards. And I was thinking that maybe after that, I would try and see if I could just reapply again to just do business, because that was my goal. I did business in high school, so just wanted to continue on in the business realm. But at the time, what I could only be accepted to was just to do psychology and then political science. I added political science to it. So mostly that's what I studied, like for my first year at the University of Ghana.
Okay, okay. All right. So, I mean, I know you've made mention that your younger brother, had paralytic polio, and you had to be one of the main people helping him around. Apart from that experience, are there any other key moments or influences during your early life that you can pinpoint that has really shaped you up to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think one other one key, I would say, key piece of information was, my parents never went to school. My mom, I think her education ended right in middle school, and then my dad also pretty much went a little bit further in middle school, but then that was it. But outside that, there was really like nothing that they could achieve.
Okay, so you were really, I mean, on track to learning. Um, you were really on track to learning business and other non-science courses. Um, at what point did you leave Ghana? At what level? Like level 100, 200? Which level did you decide to leave Ghana after winning the lottery?
So I decided to leave Ghana right after my level 100. So when I was transitioning to level 200 is when I left, because the debate at the time was, do I just stay in Ghana and finish Legon and before I travel to the United States? Because at the time I'd been approved and like everything was finalized. So it was just more of a debate, and the consensus or agreement at the time was, hey, just leave. It really does not matter. So yeah, right after level 100 is when I left.
Okay. So in terms of your initial days in the US, prior to coming to the US, did you ever come here, or that was your very first time of coming to the US?
First time coming to the US, first time even sitting on the plane. I had never traveled before. I had never even imagined myself going anywhere. Again, as I said, all my siblings had some affiliation with traveling outside.
Yeah.
I was the only one who had never traveled. The older brother basically lived in Germany with my parents at some point. The second born was born in Germany. The third born, the one who is paralyzed, was literally gone, like he went to Germany for like 4 times, like back and forth with the orthopedic surgeon. So I was the only person in my family that had never traveled or even seen like an airplane.
Oh wow! So I mean, when you got to the US, as somebody who is coming in with a non-science background, you are left in level 100, so you didn't really have a degree. How those initial stages? How did you handle it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the most difficult part of my journey. And again, I'm not afraid to admit that at some point in time, I actually packed my bags that I really wanted to return back to Ghana, because I felt I've wasted my whole life here. And in essence, what I'm trying to say, so in my initial phase, I go to the United States. I actually arrived here on 29th June of 2009. So, when I got here, I came to live with my cousin, who is a pastor, Dr. Reverend Yaohinia Samoa, Jesus for Assemblies of God in Atlanta. So that is where I came to live. I came to live with him and with his 2 children and wife. So I remember, he told me, you came here with no degree, and I think let's start off with you doing some menial jobs, and then we'll figure out about your schooling. His biggest thing was, you need to go back to school.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you just like all these other Ghanaians who come here and do not pursue their higher education. So I want you to go to school, but for now, I want you to do some menial jobs to be able to take care of yourself and things around you. So I would say, if anything, to where I am today, he is like the number one factor. Like, because without him, because you have to understand, when I was in Ghana, I was not working, you don't earn any money. And then imagine coming to the United States and you're making like $1,200 a month or something. Like, to you, it's like the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah.
So you tend to forget about, oh, I need to go to school, I need to earn this degree or whatever. So that was the initial phase. And, I started working in a Walmart, started doing I was a cashier, Walmart, and then also stocking the shelves at night, and then transition into housekeeping. And doing the housekeeping, so imagine all my classmates at the University of Ghana were still going on in their education.
Yeah.
So around 2011, 2012, my classmates graduated from the University of Ghana, and I started seeing their Facebook posts about their graduation. And at the time, I was still doing housekeeping. So imagine seeing all your classmates graduating from University of Ghana with their degrees, taking pictures, and then you are sitting by the computer, and then people, like literally some of my friends started reaching out to me, hey bro, how is it going? And I was like, yo, I'm still working, I've not yet started school. And then they're like, man, you were so bright. One of them, I would never forget this conversation right on Facebook. He was like, yo, man, you were one of the smartest kids in school and you did so great. And then you just left and went to America, and then now you are cleaning floors and cleaning hospitals. Man, you wasted your life, man. That conversation led me to go pack my bags. Literally told my cousin, I was like, I am done. I am booking my ticket to Ghana, and I don't mind going back to start all over again. And my cousin sat me down, and this is exactly what he told me. He told me life is not a race, okay? You are not racing with anybody. It's a journey, and everyone's journey or everyone's path is different. And I mean, he's a pastor, so he added the whole biblical context to it. But honestly, that changed my whole mindset and changed my whole trajectory. Again, if I had not listened to him, you wouldn't be talking to me today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think, he gave you a very practical advice that a lot of people don't get. There are people who move to the US either through the lottery or through other means, and once they get here and they start, earning the 1,200 every 2 weeks or 1,500 every 2 weeks, then they think that everything is okay. So they put education aside, they put everything aside, and then they focus on trying to do as many jobs as possible. And that oftentimes doesn't work out quite well. I mean, if you have the potential to get additional degrees, I always tell people that in the US, there's no degree that's a waste. Nothing is a waste here. Once you have the qualification, it will pay off. So I think your uncle really did you good. I want us to also look at, you came in with no science background, and then you started working up to like 2014. So, I mean, from 2014 all the way to like 2024, that is like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So you've been able to completely change your story from, someone with no science background to doing one of the most challenging specialties in clinical medicine. So what motivated you to transition from your non-science background to really science and, ended up in clinical medicine? Can you walk us through that journey?
So, again, so for me personally, the first part is, obviously, God being by my side and just giving me the knowledge that, I have. I've always been very smart in school when I was a kid. But when I got to high school, I never started believing in myself, and I just started looking more up to my siblings and my older siblings because of what they studied. And I just thought, in my family, honestly, I'm actually not the smartest. It literally, the being smart goes from top down, and I was the last one. But when I came here, the first conversation with my cousin was, one, and this influenced my decisions. So he said, one, and this is I think every Ghanaian in this country has probably heard this conversation. One is, say, if you go into healthcare, and that's what healthcare more, all of the racism into me in outside. You have an accent, you don't have any kind of like degree in America. So going into healthcare, so he, started talking to me about this, and he's like, nurse and pharmacy, this idea, is probably like one of the best choices that you can make. Because if you decide to, because I wanted to do business. If you come here and you still want to do your business and MBA, that is fine. But with your accent and everything, it may be very difficult for you to progress up in the ladder, of corporate in the corporate world. So then he started putting that idea into me in science. And I was like, man, like again in Ghana, I never imagined myself doing science because I never thought of myself as that smart. Like, all my friends who did science, I just saw them as like, they wear their glasses and I was like, man, these guys are like top shelf. So that started it. Now, what I would say cemented the journey. So two other things. So one is it became kind of like a recurring theme where I felt, especially started working in a hospital. I started working in that hospital in 2011 or so. No, 2010. I started working in the hospital in 2010, in January of 2010. And when I started working in the hospital and I started seeing the physicians and seeing because I literally primarily worked in the OR. So I kind of like saw the surgeons and I kind of like really loved like their aura, the way they carry themselves. And I was like, man, like I like this, even though I don't know what it takes to get there, but I kind of like this field. And what cemented it for me was one, I just felt God giving me a second chance in life to make something. And the second chance was me reflecting back on my brother's journey and my brother's paralysis and then figuring out, okay, I think maybe there is something within this paralysis issue, me growing up with him, that is God telling me that this is a second chance for you in the United States to pursue maybe something that you were always destined to do.
Yeah.
Then the third thing is when I was working in the housekeeping, I met incredible like physicians who dedicated their lives in basically trying to mentor me, right? So Dr. Robert Fritz, Dr. David Price, all these individuals really poured into me. And, when they saw me cleaning, and the odd thing was a lot of the housekeepers in the hospital were in their 50s or in their 40s. They're basically at the terminal stages of their lives. And he saw a 21-year-old young boy cleaning. So he was like, it does not add up, right? So he started talking to me. And mostly in the hospital, the surgeons don't talk to housekeepers. And for him, he called me. He's like, hey, why are you doing this? You look too young to be doing this. So I was like, I my plan is to start a community college and figure out my life. But right now, I am just trying to work to be able to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And he was like, what do you want to do? And no joke, I saw his badge saying thoracic surgery. And the moment he asked me, what do you want to do? I don't know if it was God or whatever. My mind just went straight into his badge and I said thoracic surgery. So then he was like, okay, how would you like it if I took time to mentor you? So he made me quit my Walmart job because I used to do the housekeeping and then I would go to Walmart at night. So I quit the Walmart job and then stayed in the housekeeping so that I still have badge access to the hospital and then I can shadow him. Yeah. So shadowing him and just listening to him and just learning from him really pushed me to the sciences. I was like, listen, I just want to be like him. He's a great mentor figure in my life, and I just want to be like him. And I felt God has given me a second chance, so why not take it?
Yeah. I mean, you've highlighted a very essential element of career development or progression, which is mentorship, right? If you have somebody who is really dedicated to helping you out, to supporting you, to directing you, I mean, it changes everything. It changes everything. So I'm glad that you found somebody like that to kind of push you. And I know there may be a couple of other people who are really involved in trying to shape you to, become who you are today. So you started community college. taken some science courses. You've also, I mean, you were also in Ghana, senior high school, all the way to Legon. What were some of the differences you saw in terms of the educational system? Like in what ways? Let's say two ways that you say this educational system it's different from that of Ghana.
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say the flexibility of being able to change your mind anytime that you want to. Right?
Yeah.
You know, our Ghana system, you know, you pick a major in middle school and then, right? So you say, okay, I want to do business or I want to do science. And then you get into high school and then you do science and you do business, you know, you do accounting, like economics, like, and that is all you do. And then your goal is to get into one of the universities and just pursue like a business, like bachelor's of business administration.
Yeah.
Or you do science and your goal is I just did chemistry, biology, and then all I have to do is just go to medical school.
Yeah.
And that is that structure that we have in Ghana. Over here in the United States, I could just go on and say I just want to do music. And then within a year or so, I was like, you know, I don't like it. I think I want to do business.
Yeah.
Or I just want to do science. I could even combine both. Right? So number one, that flexibility was definitely a big factor and a huge difference between our system and then the system here. I would say too is having opportunity to have one-on-one mentorship from faculty was critical. Honestly, like, listen, I started doing science. The reason I started from the community college is because I had no science background. So I felt the community college would be an easier route for me to be able to get the basics of understanding chemistry and atoms and carbon. Again, I did not know all these things. All I did was balance sheets.
Yeah.
That's all I did. So I felt the community college would be a great opportunity for me. But the mentorship from the faculty was huge. Like their one-on-one time in the office, going over things with me. Hey, Kojo, I know you don't understand this whole organic chemistry reaction, but let me break it down for you. All those things, I felt Ghana, our professors were revered or seen in a way where it was not easy for them to be very approachable. Going there to ask them questions. So that was that. And then obviously also the schedule, right? So I could work and still go to school. So for instance, I would have my classes very early in the morning, and then we'll go to work at 2 p.m. to 11. So that flexibility also added to the easiness for me to be able to do this. And I don't think Ghana, our system, the way it's structured, because you get into Legon and all your classes have already been picked for you.
Yeah.
And the time, everything has already been picked. So you have no power in terms of how you want to arrange. But over here, you have the power to say, okay, I'm just going to go to night classes only. Or I'm just going to go to morning classes only.
Yeah.
And that gave me the opportunity to mix work with being able to go to school.
Yeah. I think you've laid down two important differences in terms of flexibility and also having access to faculty or mentoring. These are two huge differences. What would you say were some of the challenges that you have encountered currently during your residency as a neurosurgeon?
I can give you a whole list of issues, and I believe every minority or every Black neurosurgery resident has gone through things that I go through almost every single day, right? So, I mean, it's numerous. It's a whole bunch of things. Yeah. Again, biggest thing, honestly, is the thing of imposter syndrome, right? You can achieve everything in life, and again, you've read about my accomplishments and things that I've been able to achieve, and you still get into a field where people can still make you feel very small, and that you don't belong, or you came in by affirmative action when you
met all the criteria times 10 to get to
Yeah.
where you are,
Yeah.
right? But then the way people will talk to you, or the way people would grade you or see you, it's as if they're doing you a favor, or you just don't have the mental capacity or the cognitive capacity to do this kind of job.
Yeah.
And historically, that has always been the case, right? Because they've always seen blacks or black people as, they're uneducated or can't do X, Y, Z, and then certain kind of like jobs are for X, Y, Z. Again, neurosurgery is probably like one of the most competitive specialties to get into
Yeah.
in this country. And over traditionally over the past few years, the highest number of black people that has always been able to get through, the highest number in the entire country, not just like let's say Vanderbilt or whatever. It's about 12 people. Just my year group is where about 20 something people were able to get in. But it's not just about getting in, it's about are you able to finish?
Yeah.
And that is why, people like Nancy or David Dade or all my mentors, Ejayindum, all those people who have been able to go through this journey and finish, like I applaud, I just salute them honestly, because it's not a journey, it's not an easy journey. So the biggest challenge, honestly, is number one, imposter syndrome. People not believing that you're able to do this job, or people not investing their time in you to kind of train you because they've already made their assumptions about you already, right? And also being able to work within a system where you are the only person that looks like you, right?
Yeah.
I went into Vanderbilt and I was the only black person in my entire department, only one.
Mm. Yeah.
The last black guy that they had finished in 2017, and he never had a great time, honestly, right? So you're going in as the only one, and I'm so lucky to have Tamaya. She became the first black neurosurgeon resident, first black female neurosurgeon resident that has ever been trained at Vanderbilt,
Okay.
and she started last year. So now we have two black people. So that kind of like helps, right?
Yeah.
But it does not solve the whole entire issue. And in some way, it is they honestly do not understand the struggles that we have to go through, because you have to deal with all these things and at the same time be excellent. Because if you are the only person who looks like you, your mistakes, whatever you do, is super highlighted than everybody else, right? Because
Yeah.
you're the only person who looks like this. And another challenge is being a husband and also being a dad whilst going through this very rigorous
Yeah.
training.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough. God has blessed me with a beautiful wife with two kids, and one is 16 months old, and then the other is just turning 5. And just navigating that journey, because you work countless of hours, crazy hours. You go in at 4 a.m. and then you're coming back home on average like 8 p.m., 9 p.m., sometimes even 1 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't get to spend so much time with your family. So that, just combining that kind of like father role, husband role, and also being an excellent neurosurgeon, because at the end of the day, you are being judged by the kind of work you put out there. So you still
Yeah.
have to be excellent, regardless of whatever personal challenges that you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
All these combinations have honestly been the most challenging experience of my training so far. And again, those things do not end. And I don't think it would end even when I finish, or even when I become an attendant. These challenges will always be there. So this is the time to be able to learn how you're able to cope and navigate this path, because this is going to be your path for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I mean, you've highlighted an incredible uh, uh, aspect of training as a family man or as a family woman. It's not easy. You'd oftentimes have to sacrifice family time for your professional journey, and sometimes, as you rightly said, nobody's going to uh, cut you the slack of saying that, oh, this guy is a family man, so let's let's give it to him the easy way. No, you still have to go through the standard training that everybody goes into. About a nonprofit that you recently co-founded, African Research Academies for Women. What impact are you expecting from that, and what was the motivation for you to kind of establish something like that?
I mean, that is the beauty of my journey. Honestly, it that nonprofit highlights everything that I stand for or what I personally believe in. My personal belief in life is highlighted, um, or making sure that other people who are doing incredible things are being highlighted, and making sure to put them out there. And if you check my LinkedIn, over the past few years has been dedicated to highlighting other Ghanaians who graduated from medical school or who are doing incredible things. So the nonprofit started when I was in third year undergrad at Emory. So this was back in 2014. And so when I left the community college, I did chemistry over there, did excellent there, graduated one of the top physical sciences and chemistry student. Then I transitioned to Emory, and then I decided to major in neuroscience because of my brother's paralysis. And when I was at Emory, I got into a research. I got a summer research job. And whilst doing the summer research job, and they were paying me to do the research, I thought it was like the most unique experience of my life. I was like, wow, in America, you could actually do research and then you get paid. But the story was different from what I was hearing from my colleagues in Ghana, right? Or in most African countries, where some institutions require you to pay them a fee before you even have the opportunity to do research with them. So I just felt that that needed to be reversed. So it was based on my own personal experiences here in America, me being able to get paid whilst doing research. I was like, okay, why not replicate that same model in Ghana? But the most important part, someone would say, why women, was number one, I told you earlier on, my mom never went to school. She did few middle school, and then that was it. And my dad same. So my mom always made sure we understood that because she never had that kind of education or formal education, we should always make sure that when we get to position of power or position of privilege, we should always account for the 50% of our population, which are women.
Yeah.
So growing up, we grew up four boys, right? So no woman in my entire family, right? So then I transitioned to America where my cousin only has two girls. So it's like you transition from all boys, 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 boys stuff, and then now you are like a big bro to two young like women like
Yeah.
growing up. So that influenced me. And then also just doing the research on UNESCO's website, realizing that the huge disparity between male and female scientists made us pursue like focusing on women and providing research opportunities. So what we do honestly is we let female undergraduates from all the universities across Ghana apply into our program, just like every summer program here in the United States. They
Mm-hmm.
apply, they go through a rigorous selection process, and once we select them, we provide housing, a stipend, lab fees. We pay for their lab and all those kind of everything that they need to be able to do research successfully for 2 months. And
Okay.
once they are done with their research, they do like a summer research presentation. And after they do the presentation, we follow their career trajectory until they get to their terminal degree, which is like a PhD, an MD, MD PhD, or whatever they choose to pursue. And our goal is to be able to get them to still invest back in their communities, in Ghana, in the education system in Ghana. And over the past 10 years that the organization has been in operation, we've seen success stories from a lot of our students who are, some are now teaching in Ghana, some are finishing their PhDs here in the United States. Some are actually giving back in their communities in numerous ways. One of them actually won the presidential pitch challenge because she designed a menstrual pad using banana leaves, right? So, in essence, our goal is to be able to guide these young women in their journey, get them to their terminal degree, and then kind of provide them the mentorship and the skills needed to be able to impact their communities or the communities that they grew up in. And that is essentially what we've been doing over the past 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is a very needed endeavor, especially in our settings where we don't put a lot of value on research and developing the skills or the talents of our women. So I think that's a very good initiative. So far, we've looked at your journey from Ghana and the transformation that occurred in the US, and your residency program currently. I want us to look at the other aspect of your preparation for your residency application, right? So, how was your overall experience like preparing for the USMLE? What study resources do you think were crucial um, during your preparation?
Yeah, so I went to medical school at Georgetown, and at Georgetown, our first 2 years of medical school is kind of like shortened into like a 1.5 year. So you know, in December is when we go on a break, and then we have only 6 weeks to be able to study and take step one. And our
Mhm.
time, step one was not passed, but it was scored.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to do neurosurgery, so I was like, man, I need to crash this exam. So, because again, you don't want anyone to judge you,
Yeah.
based off on some useless standardized score. But for me, UWorld was I mean, obviously like the gospel, like the Bible. For
Hmm.
me, in terms of preparation, I made sure I did like about at least 70% of the UWorld step one question bank, and I dedicated a lot of time watching doing my so the way I prepared was during my first year when we're going through a module, like let's say cardiovascular module
Hmm.
or respiratory module, I was also watching the corresponding videos of that in Pathoma, so which is like
Yeah.
a pathology
Hmm.
kind of like videos and book. So I was always watching those videos in corresponding to that specific model that we were doing, and then also try to do the questions in UWorld that is relating to that. So let's say cardiovascular questions, so that you are not like doing so many things at the same time, and it's just really called focused learning. And
Hmm.
then that way you're able to fill in the gaps of things that you are lacking in a specific model before you go into renal. Because now the issue when people start studying by just combining everything together and just doing random questions, the issue is so many things are coming to you, right? And you're like, okay, is this renal? Is this psych? What are they trying to ask me now? And you get confused. And to me, the best way to study, for me personally, was to break it down into specific modules. So cardiovascular, all I did was cardiovascular questions.
Okay.
And to be able to build that knowledge competency in cardiovascular, then I moved to respiratory. So then when it got to like dedicated time where we had to study for the exam, and I did like random questions, it made sense because I knew, okay, this is a cardiovascular question. Okay, this is what they are asking me. This is what they are looking for. So that was super helpful. Sketchy was lifesaver, honestly. So the way I studied was every single day I did almost like 80 questions or so, and then reviewed it thoroughly. And when I reviewed it, when I say thorough review, it's not you just going, because some people are very prone to just looking at questions and just be like, oh, I got it wrong because I knew it was B, but you want them to see. And then you move on because your brain is tricking you to think that you know it
You know,
because you got
yeah.
it wrong for a specific reason, right? So for me, the way I did it was I literally went through every question, and then I'll just be like, okay, why did the examiners put A? Why did they put B? Why did they put C? Why did they put D? Because there's
Hmm.
a reason why they are putting those options there. It's either they are all related, or they know students are prone to picking this mistake.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to get into the mind of the examiner to think, okay, why are they doing this? And I also started a Google Doc where I just wrote down recurring themes. So you would realize that the USMLE and all those kind of standardized exams, it's a theme. If you're able to pick up the theme, it makes the exam very easy. So I started writing down every recurring. So if you see an Asian male who traveled, okay, then you know that what they're going to talk about. They know
Yeah.
that they're going to discuss TB or some weird disease or someone who
Yeah.
traveled to Guatemala. Like so, I started writing all those recurring themes, and I think that made it very easy for me.
Okay. All right. What advice would you give to other immigrants who are, coming to the US and they are trying to figure out what to do? And also similarly, other IMGs who are currently trying to figure out the US education system and the residency application process.
I would say first thing is find a sponsor, and I'll explain. So,
Yeah.
mentorship is key, definitely, but you need to find a mentor that would graduate into a sponsor for you. And what I mean by that is a sponsor will reach out to programs or would basically hold your hand and help you transition into the journey that you really want to get into. So
Yeah.
early on identifying mentors, because you have to have a mentor before they can transition into a sponsor. You cannot just get a sponsor right from the bat. So the moment you come into the system, trying to figure out who can I reach out to, whose goals or aspirations align with mine, who can I talk to that has been through the journey and that can help me. So number one, because over here in this country, yes, do well in step one, do well in step two, step three, all this kind of stuff. But mentorship can carry you farther than test calls, honestly. Like,
Oh, yeah.
people can make calls on your behalf. People can make calls on your behalf and it will trump your test calls, honestly. I
Yeah.
am
Yeah.
just talking from experience. So identifying those kind of people, number one, is critical and key. Two is just within yourself, asking yourself, is this what I really want to do? Right? And being very honest and truthful to yourself. I mean, I think that is the second key component. The third part is give yourself, I'd say, give yourself some grace and understand that it's a journey. And you may see your classmates that you finished University of Ghana Medical School with, or KNU,
Yeah.
and then they are now third-year residents or whatever. It really does not matter, right?
Yeah.
It really, you should focus on your own career path and your own journey. Because now I look back at my life, right? My classmates finished Legon in 2012, right? And in my head, I was like, oh my God, like I'm now even starting community college, and these folks. But if you put my journey and the things that I've been able to do and where I am right now, and you compare it to the majority of my classmates, it will not be the same.
Yeah.
Right? But initially, I was looking at myself and I was like, I was a failure. So I don't want people to really look. Comparison is a thief of time.
Yeah.
So don't look at people and just be like, man, guy will cry me, but like look at him now, look at her now. It does not matter, because at the end of the day, I always say this: your colleagues, right? Some of them. So if you look at, like, let's say the chairman of my program, right, Dr. Reed Thompson, excellent guy. So you look at him now. I'm pretty sure he finished neurosurgery with other colleagues of his. Are they all chairman of programs? No.
Oh no. Mm-hmm.
Or many people graduated before him. Are they all chairmen of programs? No. But he is a chairman now. So if someone who graduated way before him and then he was looking at that person and be like, oh my gosh, I'm still in neurosurgery. This person has already graduated. But now he's a chairman of a whole program.
Yeah.
Right? So the journey, you go through your own journey. Success and all those kind of stuff come later on. But you have to understand that your time could hit any time. And it doesn't matter if someone finished 4 years after you or 4 years before you. It really does not matter. So just focus on your own journey and focus on your own path.
Yeah, and I think that is a very important aspect that you've raised. I mean, I speak to a lot of people, my mates, my juniors, my seniors, who are really trying to figure out what's next, right? And they are being held back because they feel, when they take this journey, by the time they are done, they are made to be consultants, they are made to be, some specialists in maybe Ghana or Nigeria. And I always tell them that, see, the path is different, right? It doesn't matter where your classmates has reached. You also have to carve your own path. Stick to your plans and do what you feel is right for you and what you think is right for your family. So I think that is one aspect that I wish people would know more about.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And just to add this, one thing I always keep hearing when I speak with IMGs and other people that I know is, oh, I'm too old, or I can do this, or why should I do this? Like, literally, like, listen, I mean, I started medical school when I was 30. I finished medical school at 34. I'll finish neurosurgery when I'm like 41 years old. One of my attending faculty member just turned 36, just like me, literally. and I am a second year transitioning into third year, like literally. So if you look at those things, you would never, like, listen, in 10 years time, right, when I'm 46, I would have been, hopefully, by God willing, I would have been done with neurosurgery training and I'll be a neurosurgeon. What I always tell people is, oh, yeah, that 10 years in the bar, it will still come.
Yeah,
It will
and
still
to
be
come.
here.
Yeah.
So you might as well just accomplish or do whatever you're passionate about. So, and again, that is the truth. Age does not matter. And I had a kid. Like, I have 2 kids now. But to me, I just looked at the journey and this is what I really wanted to accomplish, this is what I really wanted to do, and I just did not worry about my age at all. And I know it's very easy to say as a guy and maybe challenging for women, but for me personally, that was my mindset going into it.
Yeah. I think that's really profound. We are towards the end of our discussion. I think this has been very insightful, and those who will listen to this will get some inspiration and some words of wisdom to be able to help them carve their own path. I want us to also look at some personal reflections and fun questions. This is my most favorite part. So question number 1, what do you typically enjoy doing in your free time?
The only free time I get, I actually spend a lot of my free time with my kids and my wife, and we either go to brunch, mostly like on Saturday mornings. I think it's a family tradition that we do every single time. Or just sitting there and watching a movie. We'll pick one of those old Nigerian movies or Ghanaian movies, and we sit down and just watch it and just kind of like reminisce, our time in Ghana when we used to see these movies and got super excited. So I spend majority of my time, my free time with my family. We will enjoy movies. We just go out or travel. My wife and I, we have a schedule where it's like every year we have to travel outside the country twice and then spend like another 2 travel times with the kids inside the country. So that, you have to be very intentional, honestly. So for me, knowing how busy my schedule is, and she is also a career woman, we have to figure out ways to be able to work things out. So I spend majority of my free time with my family.
Awesome. Okay, so if you weren't a neurosurgeon, what other career might you have pursued in a clinical field? If you weren't a neurosurgeon, where else do you see yourself fitting?
So in medicine?
Yeah.
In medicine? Oh man, that this is a tough one. I went through 30 years of medical school doing all these other specialties, and honestly, neurosurgery stood out the most to me. It made more sense to me, and it came off very like it was very easy for me to understand what was going on. I would say it'll probably still be in the surgical field.
Yeah.
Most likely, probably maybe ENT.
Okay.
Because they have we work very close with them, and the kind of things that they do are similar in terms of what we also do, like the transsphenoidals and going through like like doing like retroseg, there's several cases that we do together with them
as a team.
And I think that would have been something that I would have probably pursued.
Okay. And I know, outside of the sciences, maybe you would have been business or something.
I would have probably done like non-profit management or something within like global health or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So what's one interesting fact about you that most people don't know?
Oh man. It seems like a lot of my story is already out. There's a lot of people know so many things about me. But man, this is a tough one. Let me think. One interesting fact about me that people do not know is I have a very soft spot. Like I'm very emotional. And because people say, "Oh, Kwadwo neurosurgery, this guy, tough guy." But I'm a very emotional person, and I have a very soft spot for things that really appeals to me. I'll easily cry.
Okay.
On the most simplest thing, and
a
lot of people don't don't imagine or see me like that. But yeah, I tend to be more emotional about things that I appeal to me so much.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
This was a tough one.
What's your favorite Ghanaian meal?
Oh, hands down, is
Mhm.
banku and okra stew.
Okay.
Yep,
Banku and okra
yep,
stew. The Kumasi people will
yep.
not be happy with you.
I know they want me to say fufu and stuff, but I mean, the issue is I married a fancy woman, so they
Oh, okay, okay.
you you stick to what you. But I mean, I love fufu, but my favorite meal is mostly like banku and okra stew or a mutuo with abenkwai. That is the
Okay,
main.
yeah.
I would choose that any day.
Okay, okay. Um, what's your favorite sport?
Um, Honestly, right now is American football. I mean, it used to be football. I mean, it's what
The
we
soccer,
call
yeah.
soccer here. I was like a diehard like fan, but I'm really fond of American football now. That I just spend a lot of time watching NFL than even the English Premier League. I mean, I support Manchester United. Obviously, we suck at this time, so it's understandable. But I am a diehard like Manchester United fan, but also a very big like NFL fan.
All right. Well, any final words for our viewers? Everybody in Ghana, Africa, elsewhere, final words from our neurosurgeon.
I'll say my final words I'll tell people is don't listen to my story or look at my journey and just be like, man, like how can I get to this point? Like,
Yeah.
man, this guy. Uh, it is achievable. It is reachable. It is doable. Everyone, any individual, like can do this and can be where I am or can be in the position that I am. You just have to put your faith in, like in whatever you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
Work super hard. Again, this did not come easy, and you're
Yeah.
going to fail at some point. Listen, I wrote the MCAT three times. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote the MCAT three times. The verbal reasoning section, I never crossed 50th percentile. Okay, I never crossed 50th percentile. You would fail at some point. You may be the smartest individual in the world, and maybe you probably will never fail in life. But as every individual or your journey, you're going to fail at something. And what will determine your character is how you bounce back
Yeah.
and how well you are able to bounce back from that failure or from that fall. And to me, I just want everyone to understand that when you see Kojo, neurosurgery, Vanderbilt, whatever thing, don't think say that's all been shiny and all nice
Yeah.
and like very
Mm-hmm.
beautiful looking. No, I have struggled, I have failed at multiple things, and I'm still trying to figure out a lot of things
Yeah.
even now,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to don't look on social media or people and just be like, man, this guy there, Charlie, he has it all figured out, or this girl there, he has it all figured out. No,
Yeah.
like trust me, nobody in this world has it all figured out.
Yeah.
Okay, so appreciate your own journey, take inspirations from people or
Mm-hmm.
life lessons from people, apply things that would apply into your life, but understand that failures will come, accept it, learn from it, and bounce back from it. That
Yeah.
is the best advice I can give to anyone.
Yeah, and I think this is a very good advice to end on. Only take inspiration from people. Don't try to be exactly like them. Don't let people's lives influence you so much, especially these days on social media.
Oh,
Um,
whew.
everything is scripted, so you have to be very careful how you implement the other people's uh, life into your own life. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kwadwo Sarpong, for this enlightening episode. Grateful, and I wish you all the best. I know in a couple of years' time we'll be celebrating you as our newest neurosurgeon. Um,
Amen, amen.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate the time and effort, and then the flexibility in your schedule to be able to accommodate my only 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, when the neurosurgeon has a free time, you can't say you are not free, right? So,
Thank you. Thank you.